Can y'all hear me? All right, we got you. I got 10 o'clock, so if y'all don't mind, we'll get started. What's that? I got to use the gavel. I ain't never used the gavel before. Okay, is that good? Okay, never used the gavel before, so that's a new one on me. So we have 5 November Board of Managers meeting today. I'm gonna move us relatively quickly. I don't think there's a whole lot of new information, but I'll be respectful for everybody's time, and we can get our business done and get out. So with that, did everyone have a chance to look at the minutes from last time? I mean, if you did, fine. If you don't, I don't have any issues with them. So if you guys don't, we can press on to item 2 and water precipitation drought date. Adam.
I don't really have anything to add to the report. Are there any questions or comments?
Close. Was it like 0.11?
Yeah, it's right. It's right above. It's about to go into stage 2.
And is it 30 days after that? Did that stay below 890 for 30 days?
No,
Or is it instant?
I think it's pretty much instant.
Okay.
When the 30 days kicks in, that's if it goes back into stage 1, and it has to stay into stage 1 for 30 days before they declare it stage 1.
Got it.
Okay.
So one thing we should probably mention here, I saved it for you, Phil. I didn't spring it yesterday. At the Hayes Caldwell Water Treatment Plant, the flow has gone down so low in the river that whereas you used to have to tie off, I'm told, to be able to clean the intake. Now a 6th grader can walk across the river without going all the way under. And as a result, we're really having problems with our intake structure. We're going to have to do something pretty quick. And that something is probably, I'll put a $250,000 price tag on it. We're going to have to probably build some kind of sealing structure in the bank to put the pumps in because the algae and the weeds, and David could give us a lot more detail on it. It's just really giving us a lot of issues keeping that clean.
Yeah, the cattails and the elephant ears and algae and everything, you can clean it today and it's right back tomorrow. You can get about a 3-hour run time out of the pumps, and you start cutting back to about half flows. We got to run both of them at the same time, trying to keep up any at all. The water used to, I could go out there and just tiptoe and barely keep my nose above the water, and you'd have to be tied off. I can walk out there now, it's waist deep, and we've been going in cleaning it. It's doesn't make any difference. You can clean it and it's right back. There's no flow there now, so it's not pushing anything away. So we're gonna have to do something. I don't know what, but we're gonna have to do something.
The repair and replacement, if I remember correctly, for the fiscal year 26 budget, we were trying to hold minimums. Was it 500,000 or 250,000? 500,000.
500.
So, this is why it's important to have minimum fund balances in repair and replacement, right? That's the purpose of the fund, is for, these kinds of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that, does that intake isn't even located in the deepest part of the river, am I right?
No, that is the deepest
It
part.
is? Okay. I couldn't remember if it was in the deepest
It
part or
goes
not.
to like this after that.
Well, I mean, I'm not a Hayes Caldwell member, but
I mean, it might be somewhere at 6 inches deeper, but
I would think that, as soon as possible, getting some information and what it's going to take to fix it. I can't imagine you're going to have anyone from that group say no.
Yeah, I don't think so. I just wanted to put that out there and let everybody know we're working on it.
Yeah, make sure they understand how it fits into the repair and replacement fund. I would assume that would be the fund you're trying to utilize for paying for it.
Yes,
so they can understand what the impact is, because I think their first question is going to be, is this $250,000 price tag coming, or is it an ask for a budget amendment,
Right,
or
right.
not? So
right. And
Yeah.
that's a emphasize that there's not even a swag, that's a wag on the cost. So.
Okay. All right, any other comments or questions for Adam? Is there anything to highlight on the TTHM tracker that I saw in the packet?
I did have, by the time that the board packet went out, I did not have the October numbers, but I did receive those in the meantime. And so the THMs have come down significantly across the board coming into October.
What, have you found a correlation? Because this Maxwell number going from 67 to 180, the county line number from 79 to 139.
Yeah.
And then if it's significantly reduced, do we see, what's the roller coaster? Is it, not as much water going through the river? Is it, have you seen a correlation?
I have not. I don't know if David may know anything about the river and the operations over the last month. I do know that coming from September to October, temperatures are dropping. There's less algae there tends to be less algae in the water around this time of year because you kind of get some rollover that's happening. And so then you have less TOC and organics that you're dealing with. But I do know in the summertime, it always kind of spikes. It gets up there really high.
Yeah.
And then fall, it drops down, and winter, it stays lower. It has to do with that annual cycle.
And so we know right now, Hayes Caldwell, the solution is ozone, which we're under contract for adding ozone to the Hayes Caldwell facility. But the other concern is we're seeing elevated levels out of Lake Dunlap as well. Are we kind of looking to the future of what we may use to bring those down further? Because the ozone for Hayes Caldwell was predicated on the success here at Dunlap in using ozone to keep them down. So, and being able to stay on free chlorine. Are we looking at what we need to do before Lake Dunlap gets to be another problem?
Yeah,
And I'm looking at you, and I'm meaning everybody. So
yeah. I can throw out a couple of things that we have been looking at and been discussing internally. One is, of course, there are always more enhanced treatment processes, like putting aerators inside of tanks, like maybe installing a granulated activated carbon system and trying to remove more organics that way. Also, there's treatment that continues out into each distribution system. The THM issue and the chlorine issue doesn't stop with Canyon Regional. It continues in everybody else's system. So there could be a type of partnership where we can work together with our entities to try to solve that issue across not only CRWA's system, but the entities that we serve, their systems as well. So
I know Keith will tell you that they're not nice letters to send out, right, Keith?
They're not.
Yeah, and so it's carcinogenic. You've got to basically tell people that your water could cause cancer. It's an ugly letter. So Maxwell's been dealing with it for a whole lot of time. That's why I always bring it up.
Yeah.
I see some pretty elevated numbers here. Geronimo being one of them. That four sample rolling average is over the maximum limit.
Yeah.
So those are a problem that we need to stay ahead of.
I do want to mention that one of the things that we are facing here at Lake Dunlap, the reason why the numbers seem higher this year than they have been in the past, is the fact that the water is not going over this dam. Before the spill gates failed, there was water constantly flowing past this dam. And I'm told by GBRA that it's because it leaked, and that's not the original intent for it. And so when they repaired the spill gates and they put it back up, they now are running all their water through the canal so that they can meet their obligations with their power plants. And there's very little water that's going over the dam, if any at all. And so our intake is downstream of the canal and upstream of the dam. So we're in this area where the water becomes very stagnant and stale, and it's just blooming with algae. And we did notice this year that it's going through a diurnal cycle, which causes nitrification to occur. Not just nitrification, but what they call a nitrite lock. Not 100% for sure. This is just a theory, But what tends to happen is if you have lots of algae during the day, it's making all kinds of dissolved oxygen. Then at night, the sun sets, then the algae absorbs the dissolved oxygen, and there's not enough oxygen for that nitrification cycle to happen. And so you have this diurnal cycle where you need oxygen in the water to be able to add your chemicals for your chemicals to do their work.
Right.
So then this whole thing causes us not to be able to do a primary treatment of the water that's adequate to be able to reduce the TOC and the organics. And this particularly happens in the summertime when there's a lot of sunlight. And so we kind of think that that's what's happening out here. So we're talking about internally investigating a little bit here at Lake Dunlap to see if there's something that we could do, like put aerators in out there or whatever. Long story, just to tell you that that's something that we've definitely been discussing.
Well, it's almost like, that issue is like one of the things that we talked about on the tour, right? So later in the agenda, we're going to debrief the tour. And that was going to be, one of my questions. Okay, fine. Have we talked to GBRA yet? Have we talked to them about, potentially, we talked about potentially aerators. We talked about that on the tour. So why don't we just save that till we get to that discussion at the end? But yeah, exactly. Okay. Any more else on TTHM or?
Right quick, Bill, just so
Yeah.
y'all know, none of our running averages went over 80 for the year yet. There's some excuses for some of these high numbers, and then also the high early numbers that had to do with clarifiers blowing up, turning off, coming on wide open, will blow up Hayes Caldwell every time we do that. We can control it a little bit better here just because of the ozone, but over there we can't. So if the plant's dead, everybody comes on taking water at once, we're running wide open from nothing, you blow them up every time. So anyhow, but the highest running average is 74 for this year, and that was out of Kingsbury. So
Yeah, and I'm not being accusatory of
I know,
that,
I'm
but
just
Fort
letting
Canyon
you know,
Regional-
I mean, we do take them every month. But starting back in June when we had the high numbers, that had to do with the clarifiers here and at Hayes Caldwell. They both blew up. We actually had a motor go out here, or a gearbox go out on clarifiers here, and that's what blew that one up.
Okay, yeah, our goal should be 0, right? Not gonna happen, but that way there's enough time.
You can't get that out of Wells Ranch either. So anyhow, not making excuses, but there is some reasonings behind some of it. The hot weather is a killer, and age of water.
Oh, yeah. Just that we're under our numbers for the year. I mean, that partly has to do with like out at Hayes Caldwell, there's, County Line is taking water from San Marcos, but also the fact that we were trying to, or we had implemented a drought contingency, a curtailment plan earlier in the year. So that's really helped us out later this year. Now that we're out of that curtailment, we have quite a bit of water left in our coffers. Oh, okay.
I know the man. I would be interested to see because we're getting November. Okay, let's go to water treatment plant project here.
All right, guys, for the strainer project, we are currently reviewing potential cost savings on a pad back there for the temporary strainer. We're having to navigate some undergrounds that weren't located. So we are pushing forward with that. Hopefully get started in the next 2 weeks. It's been a little bit of a carryover due to locates. All right. Let's see. I'll just go ahead and go down to can I just knock all mine out real quick? Can I just knock all mine out real quick? Emergency generator. We've had the 2 pads poured at Wells Ranch last week. Leisner is ready. We're doing a little bit of work at Wagner on the conduits. We had to wait for some rigid elbows to come in. Once those are in, those should be in going this week. We'll get concrete poured in hopefully next week for Wagner and Leisner. The generator pads have been poured at Wells Ranch, and we're letting those cure. We'll move the generators on hopefully the next couple of weeks. Leisner is ready to go, but we're going to try to do Leisner and Wagner the same day. Or concrete over the conduit.
And just quick update on the litigation. I won't get too far into it. We originally had a mediation scheduled for this project with the design engineer on Wednesday of next week. We're rescheduling that. I don't think they're ready for a discussion with us on it. We'll have the litigation committee has a meeting this afternoon to talk about this project and the San Marcos litigation too.
Okay, cool. Anything else, Rob?
Yes, sir. Hayes Caldwell Phase 1. We have filled up the new tank. We're going to be in the process of letting water out of the old tank and getting penetration done. Hopefully get that Phase 1 wrapped up by end of November. Okay. Phase 2 of Hayes Caldwell. They're currently backfilling the underground conduits, preparing to excavate the beams for the ozone building. Once those are done, they'll be forming them up and pouring concrete, hopefully within about a week and a half. Depending on, we'll have good weather, so it should go smoothly. And I'll just jump down to wells 2 and 14. Last week, they were working on 5 and 13, finished that up yesterday, I do believe. As far as AETS's electrical work, we will be coordinated with David in operations to work on 14 and well 2. Those are going to have a little longer shutdowns just because of the work involved. So we'll be coordinate that a little more detail and schedule.
So y'all just did the construction.
Yesterday.
So construction committee's all good with all the updates.
As of yesterday, no problem.
Okay. I don't want to take us down this road unless you guys want to go, but I don't want to do the other committee's work, right? So.
Phase 2 has a change order on it. It's for the currency conversion.
Oh, yeah.
So the construction documents did call for, the potential for currency conversion. So Canyon Region will be on the hook for it. So the construction committee will make a recommendation at the Board of Trustees meeting next week to approve the change order number 1 for that project.
Yeah. And I got it. Travis attended. Travis committee for me. He came back and said something about it. We're gonna be dead on Monday.
Yeah, for the Reedville, Hayes Caldwell pipeline, we had 11 bidders. A little bit came with Civcast, about 770. So they've been getting vetted and everything's looking good. We're going to move forward with awarding them the project. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Oh, I got it. That's what this Gallegos engineering is?
Yes.
Okay, right on. Right on. Thank you for that. Okay, cool. Any questions for Bobby? All right, cool. Wells Ranch.
Well, real quick, can we go back to water treatment plant improvements 4C? So one of the things we heard yesterday at the construction committee meeting, we didn't get the intake conversation, right? Y'all held that off for the fun part for today. But we did talk about the challenges with existing membranes and that one entire rack is down now, one is teetering, and another could be close behind it. And so right now they have 2 membrane trailers out there, one that's being rented and one that's purchased. And so the construction committee was concerned about what the plan is for making up the rest of that capacity if and when those filters are finally completely out of life. They are well past their service date at this point inside the building. And so staff said that they were working on a plan for getting that group together and either finding a third trailer or some other solution, because without it, there's not enough treatment capacity to meet the contracts. I think that's really important for this group to hear. There's not enough treatment capacity to meet the contracts if those fail inside the building.
I think, like, we just gotta have a good contingency plan, right? I mean, that, you have to, how are we gonna deal with it, so.
Well, and as a reminder, the PMs at Hayes Caldwell do not want to have additional bond debt related to replacing these membranes. So if we, purchase a third mobile unit, that'll give us some time maybe to build up a membrane fund so that, we'll have little to no debt, added to replace those membranes.
So in my mind, as the board president, not as a member of the board of managers, is that kind of project should come through the board of managers, right? It's an emergency, it's operations, it's that the construction committee should be managing the construction project after it's been, it's going through the bid process and get some information on design. But to me, just like you brought the intake here, this membrane discussion probably should be centered in here, to kind of talk about that strategy and talk about how we might, find a solution for it. Now, obviously, we want the Hayes Caldwell group to have, it's the facility, it's their cost. We want them to get together too, but that's where I think this committee can help you. This board of managers can help you with when it comes to developing that project before it becomes construction.
Yeah.
And then it's handed off to the construction committee and we say, we don't want to hear about it in here.
Yeah.
Construction committee's taking care of it.
That's right. I'm with you on that one. Okay, cool. So we took a step back so forward to Wells Ranch 3.
And so we've had ongoing meetings with the Wells Ranch 3 participants to talk about, how we're going to move forward. Really, we're looking to move forward with the Bloomberg project and develop that first. And then internally, we've had discussions about looking to Gonzales and looking at our options for producing Wilcox water in Gonzales as a next, not necessarily a phase 2, but as a next project. For the state water plan purposes, I would like to be able just to pivot our focus on the project that's in the state water plan, just from Carrizo production to Wilcox production. If that's something we could do, then we should have that project in the plan still. Otherwise, we will have to submit it for the next cycle to get it in the state water plan. That won't keep us from moving forward if we have to do that. It just keeps us from getting funding unless it's in there. So we're looking to schedule that meeting. Actually, Michaela has scheduled a meeting with all of the Wells Ranch participants to talk about, further down the road. So
Just as an aside, it just jogged my mind. Like, so did Region L ever figure out, I'm looking at Chelsea because she may know, who their representation is? Did they get through that little election cycle, whatever they were doing, to figure out who's on the committee?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still in the nomination period. I was lost the bubble on it. I figured I'd ask you while you're here. Okay, cool. Well 1, is there any updates on the well 1?
We are waiting on the deed, which I'm expecting to get today, so that we can forward that to the TCEQ and get them to give us the go-ahead to start drilling. We could have started ahead of time, but we're just kind of cautious about doing that without their approval. So looking to send that documentation into them probably tomorrow.
How long did it take,
I don't.
to get there? What are they giving us, a permit or something?
Yeah. I think originally Weisinger thought they could get it turned around in a couple of days, didn't they, David?
Originally it did. Of course, they've had some people retired and young ones took their place since then. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping we still get it pushed through real quick. We got everything else set up. I mean, I've got the surveys done, the contract signed, they've cleared the lot. We haven't done any leveling yet. Verbally I've got it approved, but we got to, officially get it all done. We got to have the deeds to get the permit through TCEQ.
Okay. Who's the contractor out of curiosity is doing?
Last singer.
Yeah.
But just so you know, the rig moved to another location, so it's not waiting anymore. They had to go on, so there might be a little wait there before we can get them in there, but other than that,
Okay. Next up, deed permit.
Yeah.
Get the well.
deeds, go get the land swapped around, trade back and forth.
Okay. Okay. I got any other questions on those topics here from Wells Ranch? Okay, general topics. Okay, for this one, let's just 6A, right? We have this on here and Carrie and I talked about it. It's a CRWA master plan development. We've talked about it in here before. I'm interested in y'all's thoughts on it. I think we should recommend that the staff go ahead and get some proposals. I don't know the appropriate venue to do that. If you would use your own call engineers that you have already, get a proposal for them. That's the way I would do it, at Home Green Valley. But I mean, I think we should need to go ahead and get a proposal and start looking at it and make sure that the scope of the proposal is such that the master plan for Canyon Regional takes into account all the things that we've done to ourselves over the years, like the goals and transmission lines. Those things we're all well aware of, right? But we need to also take into account the member entities' master plans themselves. And I think we're to the point where we should solicit, proposals, and go forward and then make a recommendation and accept one of those from an engineer firm. Y'all any discussion or ideas why we would want to do that?
Yeah, we've got one, but I think you almost need to just start from scratch, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, I think you just have to start from scratch, and we've got to consider some of these places where I think to me, our tour was great. I really appreciate it. I know we're going to talk about it here a little bit longer, but so much of the design work that was done for Canyon Regional was based on just everything operating 100% of the time with no redundancy, can't fail, or we can't produce. And I think the master plan is going to have to concentrate on that redundancy that we haven't built in, those extra wells, so that when well one goes down, we're not just out of luck. Extra, pumps, whatever it may be, that redundancy is missing in every one of these projects. I think that's going to be a primary focus in my mind, so that we have that redundancy and we can take something offline for amount of time to do repairs.
Along those lines, in some cases, I don't think the engineering map works, right? On some of our setups, right? I know that there is a absence of reality, I'll call it, between what is actually contracted, like from 10, 15 years ago, in terms of peaking factors and those sorts of things, that in reality, that math doesn't work. I mean, so it's almost like if we don't do the engineering math and figure out what the real capacities are and pipes and what pressures we can do and blah, 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 all that stuff, then, it makes our contracts very hard. You have an unenforceable contract because you got a contract that the system's already performing above that, but we don't know what the true performance of the system is. Because so many things have changed over the years.
Yeah, great point. I sat with the contract review committee on Monday, and we're talking about how do we take the contracts as they exist today, maybe sever out the operations provisions of it and make an actual water supply contract that governs kind of all your water in one document, because we've intertwined Dunlap and Wells Ranch so much now that, it's hard to even pull those apart. And so it makes sense. But one of the challenges that I think we need to address at the same time that I didn't mention to the committee is the fact that we started with, 3 interconnects in the first contract, and then we punched 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 more holes in the transmission main. And we really need to identify how much water do the members need at each one of those interconnects. And then that total can't exceed the contracts, because right now it's a free for all, really, I think is the best way to describe it. And we really need to have a plan where Canyon Regional knows, okay, Green Valley wants 1,000 of their 6,000 gallons a minute here. So then they can model the system and say, to make this work, here's what we need to do. And we all kind of coordinate together what that looks like.
I have a random question here, and I know I'm not a paying member, as was made clear to me or last meeting. I'm not sure what that meant, but anyway. Does every member here have a master plan of their own?
Yeah.
They do. All right, because I would say that should be at a minimum, everyone should have one. Because how else you going to get this baseline info, like what he's talking about? I mean, each system should know what their growth needs are, or at least be able to project it out. So at a absolute minimum, you would need that from each member system, get that, and then start developing your plan.
I'm just wondering where does a board of trustees fit in there, right? Because as our group, we're not allowed to direct, hey, you have to go do this. And, I think that should be a recommendation from this board to the board of trustees. So the board of trustees can direct staff and say, here's how we'd like to proceed. We've heard from the board of managers who really were here to be kind of technical experts for our board members. We've heard from our technical experts. They say this is a good idea. We think it's a good idea. Gary, let's do this. Does that make sense to everyone?
It doesn't. One other thing too, you might want to establish parameters for those master plans, as everybody's plans are to be different. Like my plan, for example, it doesn't have years per se, but it does foresee or predict what our CCM would look like if the entire 160-some square miles were built out. So for us, it's like 24,000 connections, but there really isn't a timeline. What controls that growth is our gates that are hit with numbers of connections and air and pressure planes. But again, that doesn't have a time frame. So maybe say, okay, all master plans for this deal need to look out, I don't know, 10, 20 years, whatever it is. In other words, everybody has to be on the same sheet of music, because it doesn't make sense to have all these different master plans with different gates or whatnot and trying to make sense of all that. So.
And we have to include Hayes Caldwell. They weren't included. Yeah. I don't think they were included in the last one, if I remember correctly. David, do you remember them being in it? Doesn't make any sense.
Well, if we unconstrained.
I'm good with it. I think it makes sense. Make the recommendation to I'm just one person in here. There's 5 or 6 other of you. I think it makes sense to send to the trustees and tell them we've talked about this and we think it could be beneficial. I agree. I think you probably just put this out on the street and I guess you can evaluate who you have, but unless we've done a request for proposals for, seeing what the capabilities are of our current consultants, I'd put it on the street if you want my opinion.
My question to the consulting community over here is, how soon do I need to put it out to get good responses by the end of the year? Is it yesterday? Is it too late? Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't see us putting out a good RFQ until next week. And
Let's do it right, not do it fast.
right, absolutely.
But,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is a long-term planning project, not a short term. If you can't get the results back until January, February, you got to get approval from the board first Monday.
Yeah,
It's going
right.
to take you more than a few days to draft up one. If you
Yeah.
draft it up quickly, it's not going to be good. Let's take our time and do it right. It's
I
my
agree.
opinion.
Besides, and you know, the engineering industrial complex got to put their tongues back in there. Yeah. Love that project over there, right, guys? Okay, anyway. Okay, item 6B, communication for weekly updates. Okay, so, you know, I wanted to put this item on here, and I think, you know, just a couple of lessons learned of late, right? In the last few months, we've had a couple of just minor things that go on, maintenance things that goes on that folks need to, you know, be apprised of, right? And so that way we can be better informed across the board. So, what I did was, and for us, what I want every entity to do here, and I think we should do this anyway, is help Canyon Regional keep their points of contact list.
Contacts would be great.
I mean, we got an email and y'all have had a couple issues over the last couple of months. I can't remember which one it was, but you sent us an email early in the morning. I appreciated that. It kept me from having to make a phone call to you and bother you because I already had the information I needed to know. So I thought that was great.
You know, ultimately, you know, I'm a victim of my past, right? You know, in the Army, we do that. And we literally, I don't know if you guys, Department of Defense, White House, all the government, they literally in a time of, there's literally a conference call, secretary, and it runs pretty easy. You know, they don't, they like, FEMA Ops Center comes on and says, this is FEMA operation. It's going, they brief the weather, they brief what's going on, and they go, that's Secretary of Defense. That's what happens. You know, we don't need to be at that level here, but the same methodology that you have a Teams call once a week, hop on here, hey, this is McMullen, this is what's going on with this one things, hey, around the Just, that's, just like running on.
But it could be 5 minutes, it could be, anybody have anything?
It could literally be,
Crickets. Okay, we're good.
literally be. But then what it does for you too, it gives you the connection. Pointing out, like if we put the right people on, Brandon and Phil. We got the right people on there. That's my.
Yeah, no, just operation manager level. I mean, I think is where you start. They beginning with whatever everybody has for operation manager level and like you're saying, just, what's going to affect what area, what big projects are coming up, So, I mean, to me, it's as simple as it sounds.
I think it'd be thing deal. So in my mind, I think you have two things. I think you have this built an outlook, you got a problem. Me and Brandon loved it. You sent out the email last time. It was perfect. The email list. Communicate with 100 at the same time.
I also called everybody just to make sure that they saw the email,
Yeah.
because I did send it out early,
Yeah.
so.
Anyway, so everyone at least 3 times.
Yeah, I would say do that. I think that's easy for everyone. And then maybe just ask staff what they think a structure could look like, what works for them. I don't want to tell them every little detail what they need to do, but I think
Suggestion, right? My suggestion would be, you don't know teams, you have a set agenda, you're the guy. Do my bill. And just go down the same roster. You got the comments. That's a very simple agenda. Anyway, we tried out one time. I think a minimum would be. You should not make gain the regional staff. And that's what I'm trying to. Okay, have we beat the horse enough?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, water treatment plant tours. Okay, we did tour like that last time on October, right? Adam was alluded to, like one of the things we learned right off that, and thanks, Adam, you're good. Most of us had not been over there. So, how, intakes, right? Things that I took away. But the earlier sound. Relatively. Probably not gonna allow. Playing in hell, you certainly don't move the end. It is. And flesh.
maybe, why not? No, it was moved, what, a decade ago? It's been a while.
2004.
Oh, okay. 2004, 2004.
Okay, well, all right, I thought.
It was just, the second one was added.
Well, maybe we even talk about doing that. I mean, so that's one of the things that I saw, right, that, on the tour. I think I learned that where the Stringer project actually is, so it made sense to me. What we said about that and stuff. My personal. I think that's something you should think about it. And anybody else, anything or?
I guess I'm just curious, like, is anything being talked about with TCEQ to go from a bin 1 to a bin 2 to help out with the filters at Hayes Caldwell?
I didn't set them up.
That's a good, that's a good question, and I think I'm going to let Chelsea talk some more about that.
So that was the handouts. That must be.
Thanks for the note, Randy.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Bill's been talking into a blank one for a time.
Oh, yeah.
The answer is yes. We are working with Focused Advocacy, which is the legislative consultant that we engaged a few months ago. And Adam is pulling together a long history and a lot of detailed information for me to present to them. But the plan right now is to work with Focused Advocacy to try and get to more advanced level of staff at TCEQ and position this not like in a tense or accusatory way, but just express to them that it's important for us to have this revisited. With Focused Advocacy, we'll be looking at how everything was presented last time and what we could do to change how we present it this time. So there are a couple of different narrative strategies Adam and I have talked about that we'll work with Focused Advocacy on, and potentially even engaging with some development board staff since there's an impact to production and our ability to meet demand. And so we're hoping that if we work with Focused Advocacy to get to more senior staff, we'll have a better outcome and more conversation about what can be done to change the bin classification. So we're not going directly to TCEQ on our own. That's probably a distinction from the way it was done last time.
Is there anything from the purchasers, the ones that to show historical data of lab analysis or vaccine analysis that can help bolster that case?
Yeah, so I would defer to Adam for the details on that, and so I can punt it back to him. But in what we've talked about, he has offered to pull together sampling results to demonstrate what happened with the first round of like LT2 sampling versus subsequent, as well as pulling together some maps and other images of the structure here, the fact that GBRA samples or they have an intake right across from us, and how is that different? And so Adam, I don't know if you have anything to add, but we are going to put together a pretty comprehensive case, I think.
Yeah, there really hasn't been a sample regimen put in place specifically geared towards bin classification, on the side. But the first round of sampling, according to the rule, was in 2006 to 2008. And that was that time frame that Canyon Regional did get over the amount of cryptosporidium in the raw water at Lake Dunlap here, and they also in Hayes Caldwell in the San Marcos River. However, in the second round of sampling that EPA required was at 2015 to 2017. We did not get any cryptosporidium within any of our samples during that sample period. TCEQ acknowledged that when they sent a letter both on the Hayes Caldwell plant and the Lake Dunlap plant, and basically said, well, you guys didn't have cryptosporidium, but we're going to stick with the classification in the first sample round. So in terms of sampling, that's what we have. It's a scenario that we've thought of, and I won't go through all of the different strategies that we thought of, but it is a strategy that, quite possibly we could sample, have a regular regimen where we're sampling for cryptosporidium and Giardia to maybe get us down into that bin 1 classification.
And that focus group, was that from TCEQ or is that like EPA level? Or is it possible to go to the EPA to get help to talk to TCEQ?
Kind of from what I understand, when we talked to TCEQ back then, is that they kind of punted. They're like, we don't feel comfortable with making that decision of reclassifying you to a bin 1. So I kind of think that maybe their position would be the same. And so we kind of have to approach it in several different ways, probably TCEQ and EPA but
Yeah, I definitely think it's on the table to go to EPA. EPA tends to be very deferential to states, though. So once they've made a decision to let a state carry out some kind of program or be the enforcer of a rule or regulation, they tend not to intervene unless there's something really egregious. In this case, it could be helpful to make them aware, but I don't think they will, make a decision and try to impose it on TCEQ to get the change. But one thing that we did talk about is doing some voluntary sampling, which excuse me, Adam, might be what you were referring to with the out of cycles, but just pulling some more recent samples so that we have newer data points to take to TCEQ.
So what I'm hearing collectively here is that this is a very subjective process. Is that correct?
Seems like I heard here.
Yeah.
And the challenge is, I don't think there's any like formal process that says, if you're here to get here, you do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, there's no SMART goal there.
It's really just convincing them that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, and that they're also doing what they're supposed to be doing as a regulatory agency, right? Because they don't want to say, oh yeah, don't worry about that crypto, and all of a sudden there's an outbreak and hundreds of thousands of people are getting sick.
Yeah.
I get that, but I think we can be smart about our communications. I'm not sure how involved staff was the first time around, or if we used a consultant more. But I think we've got pretty good attention on this matter, and hopefully we can get it solved. Great question, Mike.
Well, it seems like a bureaucratic thing, really. I mean, that's
Well,
what it is. I mean,
Yeah, we need to get our LA consultant on this, I think.
okay. Anything else from Lake Dunlap
Yes.
tour? Yeah.
One of the things that I had remembered being an issue there before is when we moved to Nanostone, we retrofitted the membranes. We didn't go and put a whole new set of system inside. We used existing racks. We added some new valves. We did some changes, but not a brand new system. And one of the failure points that we need to be aware of is the fact that the controller, the brains of the operation, is really a Coke product, Coke membrane product, and we're using Nanostone filters. And so we took the Coke product and had our guys go in and program it to work. And correct me if I'm misspeaking at all. So we took Coke, a proprietary product, got their permission, made some changes to make it work to this kind of Frankenstein brain. And that's probably a point of failure that we're going to want to address sometime sooner rather than later.
That's like Frankenstein's a good way to say it, but yeah.
It has to be addressed if we had any more stages back there. It's got all it can handle.
Well, now's the time while we're in design with Garber to make sure that's included.
That's part of it.
Is it? Okay.
Okay. No, that was a good one too. Anything else y'all saw at Lake Dunlap?
I'll echo your concerns on staffing. I didn't like hearing someone say that they're kind of the person 7 days a week.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
You got to
so
have a break.
when Joe said that, he's pretty much always on call, and I'm like, I mean, that's probably not good. So, I've dealt with some of that too. We've had to do changes around to make sure it's more equitable for everybody. But yeah, so that concerned me. I thought it was great that we went to Lake Dunlap. I really do. I mean, I think it makes us much more effective. We actually know what we're talking about, which is why. Does anybody have any other comments on Lake Dunlap tour debrief? Okay, I'm going to move to Hayes Caldwell, which is why I want to go to Hayes Caldwell so bad, right? Because we're sitting in here and we're talking about trailers and things that really affect, a significant portion of our membership. And I feel completely ineffective to offer any help because I just never seen it before. So I think we didn't, Carrie and I discussed not doing the tour this month just because it's November and, we just did this last month. There's some logistical concerns getting out to Hayes Caldwell, obviously. So I just wanted to get what the group thought about. I mean, should we go in December? Could we do it in December, or should we wait till, after the first of the year? I'm kind of open, on suggestions for that, but I do think we need to get to Hayes Caldwell sooner rather than later. My personal opinion. Has anybody got any thoughts on Hayes Caldwell tour? Exactly.
Well, and if we
Yeah.
may not hold a board of managers meeting in December.
Yeah. And see, that's up in the air too. I mean, I was kind of, these two things go together, right? Because I was kind of thinking that we wouldn't do a board of managers meeting if the trustees doesn't meet in December, just because we really can't do anything except just inform each other of stuff. So doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, I think the December meeting is going to depend a lot on the San Marcos litigation and where we
Yeah.
are. I think that's going to be the major driver for whether we're holding a meeting or not.
Yeah.
I don't think so far staff's identified any critical item that's going to have to be discussed in December, but of course, anything can come up.
Just that we'll miss y'all if we don't,
Yeah.
we don't get to see everybody in December.
Yeah, they're going to miss us.
And I think if we wait till January, it's going to give them enough time to figure out what's the drive from here, 30 to 40 minutes?
Yesterday afternoon, it was about
Yeah.
an hour and a half.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. we may need to consider like meeting there, or if we're
Yeah.
gonna have shuttle or what it may be, because I'd hate for the Hayes Caldwell group to drive all the way down here to Dunlap and then drive back up and,
No. What I was thinking, right? I was thinking that, we just converge, right? Wherever the link up point is, right? And just everyone converge there, and we'll do the meeting as abbreviated as possible, or,
Just so you know, there is no room over there for as,
yeah,
people getting inside. We can get out of the wind behind the building, but
yeah,
there's no room inside, so.
yeah. I would just, is there anybody close?
that's a
Maxwell.
perfect, that's what, yeah, you've got it.
You're coming from this side.
Well, could we coordinate with Maxwell to, just show up there?
Yeah, anywhere y'all want to go.
They don't have me.
They got a brand new building over there.
They don't want to see that.
Do they?
backland.
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right, well, let's do that. I think, so then we can meet and do a brief meeting right at Maxwell's if they so choose to host us, right? And then we'll just go to the plant from there, y'all think? That makes sense to me. But I'm convinced that us getting out there is going to be wildly helpful to me. It's going to be helpful to Brandon, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like being recent always helps. Okay. So that's what we'll do. So December's meeting will be like it's going to be based upon, the board trustees. If the board trustees doesn't have a meeting, then, we won't do a board of managers. And then in January, Hannah, do you happen to know what date that falls on, board of managers? Yeah. Because it is coming right back after Christmas and. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm good with that. Do we beat that horse to death? Okay. Is Michaela, do you have the agenda for the Board of Trustees so we could take a peek at it real quick? So the Board of Trustees are meeting Monday night. Next week's a strange week because Monday night's the day before Veterans Day. Veterans Day, most folks are probably closed. Some of you folks might be closed on Monday the 10th too. I don't know. Green Valley's not. We're working on Monday and off on Tuesday. So can we just scroll through and just take a peek here? Let me see. Consent agenda items. Okay. Okay, item 8. Here we go. General business. Item A, discuss, consider, take possible action, resolution, blah, amending the Board of Directors administrative policies to include an email policy. To my knowledge, the trustees have been wrestling with private emails or organizational emails, and that's what this policy is going to do, I'm assuming. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it gets past scrutiny. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me, that's for sure. Item B, take action declaring CivCon successful bidder for the Hayes Caldwell Pipeline Project. That's the one that Kerry provided to us. Right here, the Gallegos Engineering. I prefer Board of Managers not to make a recommendation on that. I think the construction committee is in their purview. So that construction committee, I'm sure, will make that recommendation. Item C, take possible action on the budget to reflect reallocation of costs within Wells Ranch.
The budget committee's meeting tomorrow and may have some discussion. And so we wanted to make sure we had an item. It may end up not being anything at all.
Okay. And for everyone's information, there is a budget committee meeting tomorrow at 11? 11:30? 10:30? I'm sorry, Joan, I'm deaf. Anyway, okay. There you have it, the budget committee tomorrow. Item D, concession take optional, discuss take possible action on approving change order. And, that's the tariffs thing. Okay, again, I think that's a construction committee meeting. Okay, so I don't think we have any recommendations from the Board of Managers on business items. Okay, all right, let's see. Thank you, Michaela, for that. Is there anything else on the agenda?
I'll give some good news here. We budgeted $2 million. We budgeted $2 million for that Reedville pipeline, and the bids came in well underneath the cost estimate. So unless we find Jimmy Hoffa out there or something, we should be well underneath the budget for that project. So
That had the easements and stuff in it too, and that too.
yeah, that's easements,
Everything.
engineering costs, everything.
2 million.
Okay. Well, good. Is anything, before we, adjourn, is there anything y'all want us to address in future meetings? Any ideas that you have out there? I know, like we said, next month's board of managers meeting will be contingent upon whether or not the trustees choose to have a meeting. So we'll let you know in that regard, and then we'll just plan for Hayes Caldwell in January. Anybody have any final comments? Yes, sir.
So we have a breaker here at Dunlap that I've got to get changed out. We've had it sitting back here since back in the fall, early fall. I'm gonna have to kill the power, so we're gonna be out of power at Dunlap, including the office, on one day. I do not know the date yet. I got to coordinate 2 different contractors, but I just want to start giving everybody a heads up. We're down to about half production, so we shouldn't affect us any. We can still run our pumps. So we'll have plenty of water out in the system and stuff before we do that. But I just want to give everybody a heads up because everything will be out here. There won't be, the office will be dead and the plant will be dead back here, but pump station will still work, lab will still work. So anyhow, no, we got plenty for everybody to do, no problem. But anyhow, I just wanted to let y'all know that. So, we're going to call it an 8-hour day. We'll be able to do it in probably 4 hours. But
Okay.
anyhow, once we get installed, we got the programming done and stuff. So
Perfect situation for the email blast.
This goes back to the raccoon incident.
Yeah, I remember. John Davenport pulled that thing out, didn't he? But anyway, is everybody all good? Okay, I appreciate y'all coming. I'll see y'all maybe next month. And then thanks for your input. Appreciate it.
Real
We're
quick,
out.
sorry, is it worth making like and I know internet or email domains are a thing when it comes to the company, but like an alerts at CRWA domain. And then for us, because like I know when we have things going on here, we tend to try to pull from Springs Hill and we talk to them. We communicate pretty well there. But like if we need to reply or if we need to put something to like an alerts at CRWA that automatically distributes to everybody from our end as well, not just from staff.
Absolutely. I'm with you, man. We just got to figure out a method to do it. But I'm with you. I love it. Okay. Thanks, man. All right. See you guys when I see you guys.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.